Hey all, welcome to another episode of the Run Long After 60 podcast. I'm Mark Vega. You know what I love? I love doing things I haven't done before. And I love it every time I speak with someone, we've all got something we haven't done, or that we did it first, or makes us unique, or have a funny story about things. We all have that. Today's guest is a guy who, can you imagine the first time you sign up to run a 100-mile race, you win the 100-mile race. Okay, that's insane. That's this guy, Pete Livingstone. That was many years ago, and he's laced up many times, run many hundreds of miles. Since then, 200s, he even swept all of Bigfoot 200 before he ran that race. He's retired. He didn't even start doing long runs until he retired. So yeah, he was retired when he ran that first 100. I just love it. He used to be a mining engineer, so he's no longer in the mines. Now he definitely chases finish lines. We had some great conversation about what recovery at altitude looks like, what it's like to just keep showing up for yourself year after year, race after race. It's not just perspective, but it's perseverance, it's resilience, it's all those things. Pete embodies that, and he's proof that your fastest years might be ahead of you, and the best trails might be those you have yet to discover. Okay, if that resonates with you, subscribe to this channel. If you're picking up what we're putting down, come along for the ride. Push the notification bell, like the content, make a comment after you listen to Pete. Just what resonates with you. Is it enough? What gets you up out of bed? Do you run long after 60? Are you almost 60? Are you heading towards 60? Are you way past it? Look at this guy, Pete. I'm inspired by him. When I looked at him, I'm like, man, if I look as good as this guy does, I'm in, let's go. It's the new 60s revolution, I say. I was born in the 60s, so I'm in my 60s now. So let's go. Okay, you ready? You ready? All right, I think it's time. It's time. It's time for Pete Livingstone. Let's go, let's go. Here we go. Peter Livingstone, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. How you doing today, Peter?
All right. Great. Yeah. Thank you for having me, Mark. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. I'm most excited, I guess, right out of the gate to see that it looks like those are real trees behind you. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm sitting on my back porch, my backyard in outside of Monroe, Washington, Snohomish County, about 30 miles northeast of Seattle.
Okay. Oh man, it's beautiful. I struggle with our background sometimes, and I'm very comfortable and safe in my little corner here. It's my safe refuge for after long runs, whatever. I'm very comfortable here, but man, I love that background.
Yeah.
All right.
I do. Yeah, and I do have an awning over me. I have a retractable awning, so it's Seattle in the spring. I figure it's probably going to be raining pretty soon. It's not right now, but if it does, we're still okay.
You're okay. Okay, good. Both of us, the point of the podcast really, in my own pursuits, are to find people who are over 60, like me, doing a lot of things that are still hard and crazy, and trying to figure out why they keep doing them and how they're doing them. And the more people I talk to, the more I realize how many of us, right, people over 60 doing hard things, there's just so many. And that makes me feel really good, because it's just good. It's good to know that we're out there and still moving. We don't have 24 hours, but we both live long lives, so we've got plenty of stories, I'm sure.
how about this one though? Here's the softball to get us into the conversation, I guess. How did you get into running? If you always run for a long time, and it really importantly, Peter, when did you start pursuing longer distances? How long has that been going on?
Yeah, I guess I started running really in college. I had some friends who ran, just not friends through running or anything, but I realized in college I was studying and partying, and it wasn't a real healthy lifestyle, like pulling all-nighters and then the next night go to a party or something like that. So running at that time was kind of a break from something a little healthier than than a lifestyle of just, kind of typical college stuff you hear about. So
Wait,
yeah,
wait,
I ran
were you
shorter
running? Were
distances.
you running off your hangovers or something? Is that what you mean? Like you party hard and in the morning you get up and like wake your body up, or?
Well, not quite, but I have found that that's the best cure for a hangover. I don't, I don't drink like I used to or anything,
Right.
but yeah, I did find once I started running more, I found that if I get up and I'm hungover, I'll just go for a run, and it's gonna hurt, but in the end, it'll make me feel better and healthier, and
Right.
of course, not healthier if I wouldn't have drank at all, but
Right.
that's
I
yeah.
didn't know that was a thing. When I was in the military in the early 80s, same thing. Like we would get up, we'd be partying at night and then get up and we'd have to do physical training, PT in the morning. And it really, I didn't know it until years later, didn't see it this way until years later that, oh, that's exactly what I was doing. I was getting up and running as though I could get the toxins out of my body just by running. It worked. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, but we're smart. Sometimes we do good by ourselves, even if we're not intentionally trying to do it. We're still trying to take our brain always takes care of our body, whether we know it or not, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
in college, yeah, I didn't run big distances. I think, about a half marathon was the furthest I'd run. And I remember also when I was in college, I saw the movie Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman. It's an
okay,
old like 70s movie
of course.
classic, and yeah, and I was running a little.
And you wanted to become a dentist, like after seeing that movie,
Well,
like,
oh yeah, great scene. Yeah, yeah. My thought when I saw that movie was I could never run a marathon, and I kind of that stayed in my head for years and years.
huh?
I didn't think I was, ever be capable of it. I wasn't athletic as a kid or anything. I played a little golf in high school. That was the extent of my uh, my sports as a kid. But so then, during I got older, married, had a kid, family, had a career, still ran a little bit, mainly just to kind of relieve stress on the weekends, 5 miles or so here and there. And but my knees, I had pain in my knees, just kind of, I don't know, tendonitis and things, especially, cold nights. If I did any camping with my son when he was in Boy Scouts or anything like that, my knees would always be just throbbing in the cold. So, I definitely didn't think I could run a marathon. But then when I was probably late 30s, around 40, a friend of mine from work was trying to talk me into running a half marathon with him. And I said, I've already run that distance, but this race that you're going into has a marathon. I said, and he had never run a marathon either. So we both kind of talked each other into doing the marathon.
All right.
Yeah, we both finished. I think I came in, a little, probably faster than I expected. We trained together for it, and I think I did about maybe 3:40 or so, a flat road marathon. And, I
How
thought,
old were you? How old were you at that
I,
time?
th- I'd have to look, but I think I was around 40, maybe 40, 41, somewhere in the early 40s.
Under 4 hours
Um,
after not ever running for a long ass time, and you and your buddies are like, yeah, let's go do it. We'll do it. Under 4 hours at 40 and
yeah,
you're dude, that's great. How did you
yeah,
feel?
yeah.
How'd
So,
you feel after? Were you pretty proud of yourself? I hope so.
oh yeah, yeah. I was happy. I was really sore, and what really convinced me though was my knees in the days later felt really good. And I thought, with the knee problems I had, I thought, I'd maybe run the marathon, maybe finish, and probably never do it again. But the more I ran, the better the pain in my knees basically went away. So I could go out like camping with my son or whatever on a cold night, and no problem.
Oh,
So
yeah.
after that first marathon, I thought, and just kind of a little more background. My dad grew up in Boston, and I
Oh,
have an
wow.
uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, I have an uncle who's in it somewhere in his 90s now, I believe, who's run the Boston Marathon just I don't even know how many times. Probably, I'm sure it's more than like 20 times. Most of
Okay.
his
Okay.
adult life, he'd
Okay.
run the Boston Marathon every year. So I thought to myself, maybe I can qualify for Boston and run that, and kind of in honor of my dad who had passed away by then. Um, so my next race was, I think it was, I ran the Dallas White Rock Marathon, qualified for Boston. Um, got into, finished Boston, not real fast. I was kind of injured, but around that same time, my wife gave me the book Born to Run. And, I'm sure
That's
maybe you've read
2010.
it.
When was that? I'm curious now. Like, when was that? Let's say 2010,
Yeah.
2011. Okay.
Oh, yeah, the book was probably out for a couple of years, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
so,
Okay.
and I
I
had,
love it. I love it. Wow.
yeah,
How did she hear about it? How did she like what was that? That's a great gift to someone
yeah,
who, right? Wow.
yeah. Well, she's really good at giving gifts. I'm horrible at it, but
Me too.
she's the one person in her family. She gives gifts to all the little kids. She'll tie their personalities in with whatever present. And with me, I had after I ran a marathon or two, I had heard about these 100-mile runs, and I couldn't really believe it.
Right.
And for sure, I never pictured myself doing it. But so I was talking to her about running, and I think it was maybe my birthday, she gave me this book, Born to Run, and I hadn't really heard of it, so I read it, and pretty much at that point, I was hooked on like thinking about running ultras.
Had
So I
you
just
ever
kind of
heard of
progressed.
Had you ever, if you remember, had you ever heard of Scott Jurek before then? Did you know the names, or Christopher McDougall, the writer? Did you ever hear of any of those guys at the time?
I don't think I'd ever heard of any of those guys. No, before she gave me that book.
I think that
Yeah.
that's almost a universal experience from anyone I've ever talked to. Like when I got that, and yeah, in 2015, I didn't get it till later because I had a after my first stroke in 2015, and I was back, walking, trying to get back in running shape. A friend of mine, the father of a good friend of one of my daughters, asked me if I heard of it. I said no. She says you gotta check this out. So he gave me his copy of Born to Run, and I too was fascinated by the idea of running barefoot, number one, and then the idea that you could just run forever on and eat just chia seeds or whatever the tarahumari were eating, right? Like what? And then this guy Jurek, I'm like, it was as though I remember Jurek at that time, at least in the book, if I'm recalling correctly, he was already a goat. He was already broke all the records. It was like he was bored, not bored, but you know what I mean? He was looking for something new. It's a different adventure. And so, yeah. So after that, after you read the book, then what? Then what'd you do?
Yeah. Then, the same friend who was trying to talk me into that half marathon with him, we
Yeah.
ran a 50K, so it's like, okay, I did an ultra, and, I did okay, and I loved it, just felt great. And it just kind of progressed from there. That same race, actually, that was Bandera in Texas. I was living in New Mexico at the time, working in the
Okay.
mining industry. Um,
So
so yes,
I'm looking at your ultra sign up right now. I apologize. I'm speaking over you, and I got to be more disciplined. But I'm so excited to hear that.
yeah,
It's
no problem.
crazy and good to see you. Like I'm looking at your numbers. I'm like, this guy's crushed it. So that's 2011, January 8, 2011, Bandera. You're 46 years old at the time. 50K, 5 hours and 30 minutes for a 50K that you'd never done before. Is Bandera a hilly? Is it a trail 50K? What is it? What's Bandera? The first, so this
Yeah,
is your
yeah,
first time, right? This is your first 50K.
yeah. It's a hilly, rocky course full of cactuses and things. Kind of near Austin, Texas, in the like the Texas Hill Country. Yeah, so kind of rough. Um, and yeah, and the ironic thing, the whole Born to Run thing, the ironic part of that is my first job out of college was in Leadville, Colorado. I worked in the mining industry, an engineer, manager, and I had never heard of the Leadville 100. That was 80 first, let's see, the first job in Colorado, Leadville was 85. So I lived in Leadville, 85, 86. And I had never heard of the race, never heard of running 100 milers. And here I was in Leadville, and who would have thought, whatever, 10 or 20 years after that, I'd be into hundreds. But while I
Exactly.
was when I lived in Leadville, I missed out on that one.
I'm wondering how old it was, because it looks like in July of 2010. So this is before, you mentioned earlier the trail marathon. That's what that you were in. It was in Leadville. So you ran, right? It
Oh,
says,
yeah,
yeah, but that
I
was
ran the Leadville Trail Marathon. Yeah,
right
yeah,
before. That was before, and then a couple months later is when you did Bandera. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So did you start after that? Okay, I love this. So, ultra sign up is so interesting because number one, it's public. But number two, you get to in a way that we don't know each other. We don't know any the other runners, but you get to see, in a way, you get to see the choices they've made. And I come across some people where you can just tell they have found their distance. In other words, all they really want to do, they're just a 50K master or a 100K master. And some people are like, just want to do hundreds, right? And then you also get to see in yours, like you're figuring it out. So you're going longer, and then you come down and then go longer, and then so that's what it looks like. So you're 46, 2011, you do your 50K, and 46, 47, 48, 49. Okay. Talk to us about how you went to 100K and then 100 milers. So
Yeah.
when you finished the 50K, were you like, oh man, I'm ready for the next level? Or were you like, oh, that was such a satisfying run, I'm going to do another 50K? What was if you remember, like, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I think I remember in that race, the next morning, going back to the start finish line after sleeping and seeing the back of the pack 100Kers finish, and thinking, yeah, okay, I can maybe next year I can do this 100K. Yeah, so one thing about it too is that when I started off road marathon, of course, um, and I had some some injury problems when I was doing that, when I was just concentrating and training on road. When I started running trails, I felt so much better. It fixed not every single problem, but like Achilles tendonitis and things like that went away. And I think it has to do with probably running slower on rougher trails, plus varied conditions,
Yeah.
hills, rocks,
Amen.
things like that.
Amen. How many road marathons did you do? Like how many did you do? A lot of them? I can't, because ultrasound, I can't
No,
count that. Like,
yeah, not a lot. I'd say maybe I've done about, just guessing, maybe half a dozen road marathons, maybe a few more.
yeah.
I don't really keep track like I'm not in these marathon maniacs or
Right,
anything,
right.
or keep track of the stats. You probably know my stats better than I
Yeah.
do.
Well, you can't see street marathons on ultrasound, but the thing is, like, I didn't realize, for me, I was so satisfied to have finished a marathon that was it. I had the good fortune in my first marathon. I trained for LA in 2015. My first marathon, I had a stroke in the summer. And then my first marathon was going to be February 14th, 2016, just a number of months later. So walking, running, I was really ready for it. Then after my last long run, a month before the race, I had a second major stroke, and I'm in the best shape of
Mm.
my life. I finished my long run, and the next day in the kitchen, I stroke out again, other side of the brain,
Wow.
twice as big. Yeah, it was insane. So so I could taste it, like I could taste it. So did a lot of work, recovered from that, and then at that point I had to finish something. And I asked my doctor, we looked at the calendar, and he's like, November is about the soonest you should go. And I go, when? Like, so I just pull up my phone and like, how about November 6th or whatever. He said, yeah, that's good. I said, okay, that's New York. And when I say this, I had no idea that New York is the biggest marathon. I had no idea. I'm just so convinced I got to run a marathon so I can get over what any debilitating side effects of strokes. And so I did New York. New York was my first marathon in 2016. So I got really spoiled because it's the most amazing party in the world ever in the history of ever. New York is. So I kind of thought, man, this is what marathons are about. So, I kind of had expectations like, oh, every other marathon is going to be the same. There's 70,000 people going to watch, Of course, that's not how it went down. But after I did a couple, and I did LA, I went back and did what I couldn't do the first time. But the second time I went back to do LA, I did the second LA. It was not satisfying because I'd already done it. And it was nothing really, wasn't satisfying. I was like, what am I doing here? I'm just beating up my body. And of course, that was the other thing. I realized, street road marathons are just, I don't mind getting beat up. I'm fine. I can take it, but I thought it was unnecessary. It was like, well, this is ridiculous. Why would I do this to myself? Like, it doesn't make sense. And about that time, one of my friends was like, well, you know what? I think you ever try trail running? I'm like, what's that? I didn't even know. And so I agree with it. Once I got on the trails, I realized, oh, you're working different muscle groups. When you definitely move differently. You're still covering time on foot. You're still doing the work. But it just got a lot more satisfying for me. So but saying go to 50K, from 50K to 100K, so that's from 32 miles to 61 miles. Okay, that's a big step, sure. But making that decision to go to 100 miles is a big decision, right? So
yeah.
Talk to me about that. Keep going. You finished. You finished 50K, and you're like, okay, you and that. Do you still run? Are you in touch with that friend who you did the half marathon before? Like, is he still with us, or what's the deal?
I've lost track of him. He was an engineer that I worked with in the mine in Carlsbad, New Mexico, where I worked. I feel bad. I've lost touch with him. I hope to, find him again somehow. I'm sure through social media.
What was the next
maybe we'll.
Did you guys do 100K together, or what did you run, or how did you, when you went to the 100K, were you like solo? What happened?
Yeah. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, but I really don't remember all that much of my first 100K. It seemed like just now one of many races I've done.
Because now you've done 92 races in a short amount of time, man. How can you remember any of them? All right, keep going. I'll stop interrupting you. I just love the story. So, okay. You did 100Ks, well, and then what?
Yeah. Well, great. Oh, and I got to say, I got mad respect for you too, for, after having health issues like that. Fortunately, I haven't had, any major health issues through my life like that. So yeah, that's great. But yeah, for me in the longer distances, and I, early on, when we're talking now, my first 100K or so, I was working in the mining industry, kind of progressing from mine engineer, mine superintendent, mine manager, getting a lot of stress through work. So as my stress level through work went up, I realized running is a great stress reliever. So it seemed like there was a direct correlation. The further my career advanced, the more I'd run to relieve stress. I'd get home from work with all kinds of thoughts and problems in my head. I'd go out on a run before dinner or whatever, and I'd feel so much better. Things would be so much clearer. I'd come up with solutions to problems that I was thinking about for work.
While you're running, right? That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Same here, man. You're in New Mexico at this time, because it looks like New Mexico and Texas, but you're in New Mexico for quite some time, right?
Yeah. I've lived most of my life in New Mexico.
Okay.
Carlsbad's the southeast corner of New Mexico, where I was, started running marathons and then early into ultras. Let's see, talking about the
Dead Man Peaks. That was a 50 miler. Then you went back to Bandera for 100K. 50K. Okay, here we go. Angel Fire Endurance Run. Angel Fire, New Mexico, June 21st, 2014. you're 50 years old and you
Yeah.
decided, because the math makes it easier, you decided at 50 to run 100 miles. Is that what happened?
Yeah, yeah. Well, basically, I decided maybe at 40, 48 or 49 that I'd try running 100 milers someday.
Right.
But yeah, and while I was working, especially while I was working and our son was younger, I had I didn't have time, or I didn't feel I had time for training for,
Right.
ultras, or especially 100 milers.
Right.
So I have mad respect for people who are in their careers, or raising kids and also doing ultras and 100 miles or longer. I can't fathom that.
I
But
can't either. I can't either. I
yeah,
do have respect. I see every once in a while when I get a guy, and I can only imagine that if it has to be the only way you could do that, I think, and really keep the family united is if they somehow were all participating. Like I can
yeah,
imagine having young kids, like, because like you, like, yeah, I didn't start any of this until my kids, literally, my kids are out of the house. And even recently, when I really decided I'm going to commit to start running really long distances, it's because I can. Before
yeah,
it just is work, and it never, we don't, as I think, maybe not to stereotype, but as men, as dads, right? We know what's good for us, and yeah, we're going to do it and we'll get to it, right? But I think we prioritize our own health just enough to make sure we don't fucking go off the rails. But other than that, the rest is a bonus, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
all right. So, but anyway, here it
yeah.
comes. You're turning 50. You're going to run a 100-mile race. Like, what's your family and unit in that time? Like, how old are the kids, or what's happening when you decide that you're going to run 100 miles? If you remember.
Yeah, about that time, our son, he had left the house. He was in college, or actually, it was probably, uh, go back look at the time frame, but um, he he was out of the house anyway.
Okay.
And back just a little bit before that, actually several years before that, let's see, in order here, if I might get the order a little bit mixed up, but my my fa my father-in-law and my father both passed away. And then leading up to about a year or so before I did that first 100 mile, my my mother and my mother-in-law and my mother both passed away within about a month of each other.
Oh my.
Um, which, yeah, that was a kind of a you know, big life change for
Oh
both my
my.
wife and I. So all of our parents are gone, and our mothers within a few weeks.
Wow.
Um, kind of tough.
That's
And
hard. That's horrible. I'm so sorry about that.
yeah, well, oh, thank you. But yeah, yeah. I mean, looking back, just fortunate to uh, have them in our lives.
Sure.
While we did.
All you have
And
it. Right.
yeah, yeah, and they live good, fairly long lives too. So, um, but shortly after that, and work was getting more and more stressful. I was running a large underground mining operation, and mine manager. Um,
Mm.
and I've always been oh very frugal. Some people call me cheap. I've also been I've also been investing since I was a little kid.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, yeah. I had some influences. One of my big influences from my grandfather, who was quite a bit older for a grandfather. Just a little story. He graduated from college in about something like 1918 or so. Lived to be just shy of 100. So probably some good genes, inherited from
Yeah.
them, some longevity. And also his first and only job out of college, he went to work for it was probably kind of a startup company at the time called American Telephone and Telegraph
Oh, wow.
Company. Um, so it's like, that's kind of like going to work for Apple in the 80s, I
Of
picture.
course. Of course.
Yeah, yeah. So to make a long story short, and he was an accountant, so kind of, business savvy, and always investing, and investing in this. It was probably a big company still, even at 1920 or
Of
so, but
course.
investing in AT&T,
Wow.
and a
Wow.
few other companies. So I even as a little kid, I said, if I get money for my birthday, or get a newspaper delivery route, say, yeah, I want to invest some of this like Grandpa. So, um,
Smart. Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great story.
So to jump ahead then to when I'm about 48, and having all kinds of stress at work, all my parents and in-laws passed away, and I said to my wife, said, we're in a financial position where I can retire. I don't know if I can retire for good. I can retire from this job and consult. So I basically retired when I was 48 from the
Oh,
mining industry. Did
yeah.
did a, did a little consulting, and I thought, now I have time to train and run 100 milers. So basically, that's about the time where I said, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna, try to keep in touch with the industry. Maybe do a little consulting work out on my own when I want, um, and try some of these 100-mile races. Um, so about that time, my wife and I moved from Carlsbad, New Mexico, to Las Cruces. Nice, nice larger city in New Mexico with kind of a core group of trail runners, and a real small but
Community.
kind of cool running community. Yeah, got some close friends there that I still keep in touch with. Um, ran some races there. The Sierra Vista Trail Runs was a 50K. And I think that was probably before I did that, my first 100, which was up in northern New Mexico,
Hmm.
that 100 miler. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. Sierra
yeah,
Vista, March 2014. Then Angel Fire. That's 100. That's your 100 miler. And
yeah,
so let's see. Okay. So at about that time, then when you look at your if you look at your hang on here. Let's see. I want to share the screen because it's so impressive. Here's a crazy, wonderful thing about this, and this is what I love about this. Like you can tell when we start to prioritize things a little differently, right? So August 2014, September, October, then a couple months, January, March, May, June, August, September. At this point in time, and look at that, you even went to Ore. Like, oh my God, that's something I'd like to go do on my bucket list. Just go all those spaces. And I think what's so exciting here is that what I'm seeing, like you finally, or you get to prioritize yourself. Because look at those dates, man. September, October, November, January, March, April. After that point, after about 50, when you're 50, now that you're going to retire or retired, um, it's so impressive that you just commit yourself, right? So at that point, Peter, is that when you I don't even know when Ultra Sign Up started, or I don't really remember. I don't know any of those. I didn't look that up.
yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
either.
Yeah. So, but is it about that time that you are you finishing a race, and after the race, the next day or two, whatever, are you at that point, are you then picking your next race? Like, are you going one race at a time, or are you scheduling more out when at the first time when you do your first 100?
Yeah, in New Mexico, of course, the population is not that dense, so there aren't that many runners compared to a lot of other states. There aren't that many ultras.
Right. Okay.
There's a handful, and and generally I'd pick races kind of within my area or region. Um, so there was about maybe 4 or 5 ultras in New Mexico that have been going on for a while, and that pretty much all the ultra runners do. Um, so, those were obvious ones that I either got to do them, or if I'd done them, it's like, yeah, got to go back to this one. Um,
So
so
okay, right. So a
yeah,
couple of them, yeah. Sorry, I didn't have to take that down. It's just so impressive and fun. So a couple of them, like here's one, Dead Man's Peaks. they're just jumping out at me because you have an opportunity, Sierra Vista. So you go back to familiar places because, and I'm guessing, well, let me ask you the question, I'll tell you. Do you see the same people? Is it the community small enough that everybody goes and you see like, hey man, how you doing again? You're running Sierra Vista again. You're running the Dead Man's Path. Is that how it works?
Oh yeah, definitely in a place like New Mexico. There's the core group of people, core group of ultra runners who go to those races. It seems like, just year after year. And within the state, as I said, there aren't too many. Um, I noticed like with the bigger races, I usually know a few people at, some of the big races like Miwok. But when you stand at the starting line, there's so many people you can look around and not see anybody you recognize.
Right.
In those races in New Mexico, like you had mentioned, Dead Man Peaks. There's another one, the Mount Taylor 50K.
Right.
Jemez Mountain 50 miler. Those have been going on for a long time, and those are kind of the races where they're not huge, pretty small races, and I may know, just estimating maybe 3/4 of the people I'd either know by name or recognize there.
That's so
Uh,
cool. That's
yeah,
so cool. I love the concept of that. And I'm in Southern California, so there's so many people, but
yeah,
it's taken a while, but not too long, really, relatively speaking. So I do see the same faces, and everybody volunteers all the time, right? So many times I see people first and they're volunteers, and then later I see them with a race vest on. I'm like, oh, of course, like everybody, I started to understand the ecosystem of volunteering and running and racing. But I didn't want to take this down because something happened April 1st. I don't know if it's April Fool's Day here, 2016. What, after all these races, you decide, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to run for 24 hours. Like, what? How did you decide to do that? That's a
oh,
big difference. That's a big difference, right? To say, I'm going to run a 24, right? So, and I love this
yeah.
badass. That's pretty funny. Like, okay.
Yeah, that was yeah,
See that one? The
A Mountain,
badass.
that's the Tortugas Mountain 24-hour run, and that's in Las Cruces, or right outside of Las Cruces, New Mexico. Um, that race originated from a friend of mine there, a guy that when I first moved into town, I lived right near this Tortugas Mountain. It has like a 4-mile loop going around it, and you can go up and down the
Oh,
mountain for some
awesome. Okay.
elevation. Maybe I forgot what it is, maybe 600 feet of gain in a mile. So great training ground. And my morning run was pretty much over there. And one time I was doing the run, and there were a bunch of people running, and table set up, and it was this 24-hour run. And I didn't know about it, but somebody said, "Yeah, you ought to run it with us," and
Had you
I
heard
had
about
something going on.
Had you heard
Pardon me?
about had you heard about backyard ultras, or had you heard about 24-hour distances up to that point in time? Or was it kind of a
Uh,
new thing?
it was pretty new to me. I probably heard of timed events, but didn't really consider it. This run was going on, and I couldn't really run it. I think it was a high school graduation. The niece or nephews had a party then, or some family event. So anyway, this guy would put this race on every year, and that the kicker to this race too was it was a beer challenge race.
What?
So it's a rugged, rocky 4 mile loop around this mountain, at the base of this mountain. And this guy was really into running and drinking beer.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, Justin Atterbury, his name is, in it. His dad Rob was kind of real supportive too, because his dad ran and drank too. So so
It's good
the
carbs,
next
I guess. It's carbs,
oh
right?
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah,
Carbs,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Load it up. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So the next year I ran in this his race, and actually he had ended up leaving town for his job, his career. Um and I was just after I moved to Las Cruces, I got involved with the trail community. Um, was a co-founder, actually, probably not really the lead. It was, I wouldn't say was my idea, but there's a friend of mine in Las Cruces, Dan Carter, who started the Southern New Mexico Trail Alliance, a
Okay.
nonprofit, to do trail work, maintain trails, try to tie uh, trails together. Really stress connectivity, from trails on different, like in different land. What would you say, management areas, like trails on BLM land, trails from the city, the county. So the idea is, you could, if you lived in the city of Las Cruces, you could get up, either run or ride your bike on trails out into the mountains. It would all be kind of connected and seamless. So we formed that nonprofit, and to raise money for it, we put on races.
Oh,
So we took
okay.
yeah. So this 24-hour race is one we took over as the Trail Alliance, part of our fundraiser. Um, and also the one we had mentioned, we talked about the Sierra Vista Trail that had 50K and other shorter distances.
Right. Okay.
Actually, we had 100K with that one too. So I kind of got involved as race director, really co-race director, helping out with those events. Um, yeah, which kind of led me into, like, the way you started this question, the 24-hour, and uh, yeah, things like that.
How long, when I'm trying to look at the tracking here, like you're about in your 50s now, your early 50s, and that's when all this is happening. Is that organization still exists? There's still.
Yeah, they're still thriving. I've been moved away about nearly 3 years ago now, or 2.5 years ago. Moved up to Washington, and yeah, that organization is still thriving, and still putting on those races.
Okay. All right. That's so impressive. So good to have seen that, to know that you did that. I'm trying to find your first 100 so I don't pass it, to make sure.
Yeah,
The Angel
Angel
Fire was
Fire.
100.
Yeah,
That was the first one. Then it looks like the next one is at, and we don't have to go through all these, but next one is in Dayton, Wyoming, the Bighorn Mountain Wild and Scenic Trail Run.
yeah. Bighorn. Bighorn is a hard rock qualifier, and I'm sure you're aware, but in case anyone isn't, there's some couple, several big 100 milers that are really tough to get into. You got to run qualifiers and put in for a lottery. Um, so somewhere around then, I decided that I want to try to run hard rock
Okay.
and Western States, and to even attempt to get into those, you got to run a qualifying race, which is usually a tough 100 miler, sometimes 100K, and then you finish one of those, and then you can put in for the lottery to get into those. So
Let's take a second and talk to me about running a 100-mile race, because now you've done a handful, a nice big handful, and certainly in the next 6 months you've got a bunch lined up. So at this point you're 52, 53, you're retired, you're doing this, you're getting into the mindset of doing this, and now of course you're 61 and you're doing a bunch of them, right? So what happened? How did you, tell me about the 100-mile experience.
yeah, well, I trained for it. I read a little bit about hundreds. There were still a lot of uh, oh, I was still pretty naive. There were a lot of little details that I overlooked. But and surprisingly, this was a real small race. Not a lot of entrants, especially in the 100. They had shorter distances, and it wasn't real competitive. And surprisingly, I won. So the first 100 I entered, I won the race. And I'm it's not like I'm fast or anything, but it was just more of a kind of a race of attrition. There were people out ahead of me who ended up dropping. Um, it was a fairly new race. I think it was the second running of it when I did the 100 there. Um, there was a guy that had won it and was the only finisher the previous year, and he was running with me for a while and behind me some. And so I always had this idea, okay, the only guy ever to finish this race is right behind me. And, I don't know how far behind, but once I realized I was in the lead, I thought like, oh shit,
Okay.
I'd, I wasn't, I didn't go out to win it or anything. I just wanted to finish. And, but having him behind me was really kind of fun and exhilarating, because I thought, oh my God, I have a chance of winning this. But I better keep going because he's done it before. He knows what he's doing, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I really do. And I wasn't even sure until I finished. I wasn't confident that I could finish until I really crossed that finish line.
This is insane. I'm gonna make a big note of this. I don't know how many people I'm gonna get to talk to, and they're gonna say, "Well, when I ran my first 100-mile race, I won." Like, what the point? That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
That's amazing, man. So that's the answer to the question: why are you gonna do more hundreds? Because, well, I won the first one. Why not keep going up, right?
Yeah.
That was in 2016 or 15, yeah, 2015 when that happens. The world of information, the running universe, all ultra universe, multi bigger distances than that. Badwater comes into play. Like, there's so many things that happen. So you're like early days. That's really kind of early days in the ultra distance universe. Although they've been doing 100-milers for a long time, they were unique enough that new races would pop up, which is exactly what happened in yours. So when you was it all self-supported? Like, did you have a crew, or how did you do it? How did you execute your first 100-miler, and then say, and now tell me a story about your last 100-miler, right? Like, what's the difference between what did you do that first time, and then now you're a bunch of a handful of hundreds afterwards, and did you change it up for the last one?
Yeah, well, and in that first one, I went in no crew, no pacer, but I must say that the people involved with that race, the aid stations, were great, and there were so few people running the 100, especially later on in the race. There were, I think there were 3 that finished. So you
Wow.
can imagine out on this course, this tough 100-miler in the mountains of northern New Mexico, people at these aid stations, they're all night for 2 or 3 people left out on the course.
Right. And they
And
just want you to survive. They can't wait for
oh
you to
yeah,
go up. They're like, yes.
yeah. So I felt it was basically like having my own crew at each aid station. They'd they know my name, and it was a course where it wasn't a complete loop. There was one partial loop and then a partial out and back that amounted to about 25 miles. So you did that 4 times.
Okay.
So I'd come to the aid stations, several times during the race, and pretty much everybody at the aid stations were there for the duration. I'm sure they took little naps or
Sure.
something,
Sure.
but I got to know them, throughout the course of the race.
I love that. I
And
love that.
yeah, and so I just felt like, you know, wow, I can go to these 100-milers. There are, these aid stations with great people, and it's like having your own crew, even if you've never met them, you meet them. And, um, I
Yeah.
think, ultra runners have enough in common that you don't even need to know anybody. When you first come into an aid station, they treat you like a long lost friend or
Exactly.
relative.
Exactly. That loop is very similar. Sounding is very similar to the Javelina with the 100, which you're going to do in October. Looks like you're signed up for that, so that's very exciting. So the last
Yeah.
okay. So the last one you just did, like, feels like yesterday, but it wasn't. The Badger Mountain Challenge, that was a 100-miler. That's the last 100-miler you did, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's a great race in outside of Richland, Washington, kind of eastern Washington, mountainous but not extreme elevation, really extreme climbs, but yeah, tough race. That one went in and of course I'd done that a few times. Actually, the first time I think I DNF'd it
Oh,
a
okay.
couple of years ago. But yeah, this year going some of the things I've learned is like say for packing drop bags, uh, you never know what the weather's going to be, even if you get a good forecast. Um, and most of these 100 milers are in environments where the actual weather conditions can be quite a bit different than the forecast, even a half a day out. So one thing I learned is in the drop bags, pack more than you think you're ever going to need because there's no downside to it. If you pack twice as much clothes, um, and you don't use them, well, no big deal. Uh, so that was one thing I learned. I also learned, and especially as I've gotten older, I've had digestion issues, stomach, intestines, whatnot. I don't want to get too gross here, but when I was young, I could run and not have any problem, no puking or anything. That first 100 miler I did, I don't think my stomach ever really felt upset. And I did hear a lot about people with stomach issues and, these kind of epic finishes where people are just running and puking at the same time and things like that. Uh, and it that never really affected me early on until I don't know, maybe my mid 50s or so. Um, so I know when times like that come, and I can't predict them. I haven't dialed in enough of anything to say that, oh, I'm going to run 100 miles and do this or that so to avoid stomach issues. I just sometimes I'll run and I'll never puke and not really know why. And I don't know if there is, there's so many unknowns.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
so this race I was feeling really good after the first about 50 miles. And this was an out and back, 50 out, or basically 25 out, 25 back, and you do that twice.
Okay.
Um, so I go out and back, I'm feeling pretty good, after the first 50. Then I go out again, and then my stomach starts feeling pretty upset, and like I just can't eat anything. So I'd come into aid stations, and um, and then by this time I kind of this happens not every race, but often now when I do hundreds, I have some kind of gastrointestinal issues. Um,
So
so I
this
just
looks
kind
like
of
this is your eighth, I think, by my count, and the DNFs don't necessarily show up, but I think this Badger Mountain was your eighth 100. That's a lot, man. So good for you, number one, right? Good for you. And then, but now you're also 60 years old. So sorry, keep
yeah.
going. So you now you got a stomach issue. Now you're in the third 25-mile stretch, and what happened? You're just like, oh crap! Like you just
Yeah,
know you're gonna deal with it.
yeah. It's in anymore, it's nothing unexpected. I'll just if like I'll stop and I'll puke or whatever, and I remember this year there was a runner behind me who like stopped and, oh, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I just puke it. It's
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
right,
I'm fine. So yeah, so I pretty much dry heaving, completely empty stomach, and okay, now it's time to run again.
right.
um
What are you
and
eating? What do you fuel? How are you fueling? Like when all this is happening and you're puking, you're like, what what's your nutrition like? What's your fueling style or whatever?
yeah, well, during the rough cases phases, I'm not eating anything, nothing solid. If I can sip a little water and hold that down, that's good. Um, so anyway, Badger for about maybe, I'm gonna guess about 40 miles or so, I wasn't eating anything. I was sipping a little water, but just like just no food at all. And then I thought, well, if I can hold down water, maybe usually 100 milers have some kind of broth, like chicken broth or beef broth or something. So I was able to hold down a little bit of that. And I think that really sustained me. And I just kept going. I slowed down, of course, but just realized that sometimes food is overrated in
Right.
in
So you were
ultras,
just
and
running on you were
uh,
running on whatever stores of fuel you had, and are you shuffling mostly? Were you walking? Were you shuffling? Were you still like how does that work? Because you finished be under 30 hours still, so that's kind of amazing. That means you're always moving for sure, I think.
yeah. There were times when especially on some of the real steep hill climbs, and this one it doesn't have, a huge amount of elevation like a hard rock or anything, but I think there was, if I remember right, thir 13,000 feet of climb total in the 100 miler, maybe a little, anyway, ballpark. So yeah, a lot of the time it was just a slog. And I don't think from after that first 50 miles, I don't think I really ate anything you could call solid food after that. But once I was within about 10 miles of the finish, even though I wasn't able to eat any real solid food, um, I just my stomach felt a little bit better, um, and I was just I was probably still running off my fat stores, but I just I just felt relatively good, and I picked up the pace and was running quite a bit in the later stages of the race, and sort of surprised myself that I was able to run and felt that good on such little food, really. I think I maybe had trying to remember, a bite or two of something that wasn't a real, wouldn't call it solid food, but a gel or something like that.
Mm. So your legs are fine, your feet are fine. So you're really spending so much time thinking about how to just not have your GI issues. Like you're just moving so that you're just trying to keep maintain some equilibrium so that it doesn't go bad again. Like, is that what's happening? Like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
steady. You're just steady. You're just deliberate. Hmm. How are
yeah.
you have blisters on your feet or your legs? Like what's happening in that in Badger?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty fortunate. I rarely get blisters anymore. I think the last time I really got bad blisters was maybe a 300 miler FKT I did about 5 years ago in New Mexico. But yeah, but now I run hundreds and really don't rarely get a blister. And if I do, it's just a minor one.
Okay, I wanted to talk about Bigfoot, the 200 miler, but no, since you brought it up, let's go to this Monumental Loop Run. Is that Danger Bird? Is that the FKT?
Yeah.
Okay, what? So I wanted to make sure I was trying to find everything I could about you. And one of the things is tricky sometimes is to find someone's Strava account, right? Because unless you post it, you can't really find it so easily. Ultra sign up is public. So, okay, this is 2021. You're 60 by this point, right? Yeah, let me see. Yes, right? Yes.
No, was
Oh,
I
wait.
60?
No. Sorry.
Yeah, I would have been
58, 57.
yeah,
Okay,
something like that.
57. So take us back that. So how did you learn about this FKT, the Monumental Loop Run, Danger Bird 2021, October 2021? 300 miles, or Strava says 298.4, and I'm pretty sure Strava just ripped you off. It should have been 300 miles.
Yeah, when you get out to that distance, who's counting? But I think officially that course was supposed to be 305 miles.
Wow.
But yeah, so to give you a little background there, I mentioned the Las Cruces, New Mexico outdoor community, running, mountain biking, and part of that nonprofit Southern Mexico Trail Alliance I was involved with. There was a core group they were actually mountain bikers, friends of mine that had this vision of what they now call the Monumental Loop. And it kind of started with there was at the time there were President Obama declared the Organ Mountain Desert Peaks National Monument,
Okay.
um, which was a real boon to the southern New Mexico outdoor community, having our own national monument there, right? Basically in our backyard, or my backyard, because I
Right.
lived turned out right on this course. So
Oh, wow.
anyway, these group of mountain biker friends of mine, they developed this figure eight course centered in Las Cruces, which with about half of the figure eight loop going up to the north and the other half of the loop going down to the south to about the there you go.
It's so cool. Yeah, go ahead, keep talking.
So that's it. And it was the originators of this, it was the brainchild of a guy named Matt Mason, who's a terrific leader in the outdoor community down there. So he started to work with the community, local agencies like the Bureau of Land Management, city, state, to get this thing designated officially. And probably even before it was official, it was, let's see, I'm trying to remember the name of the mountain bike app. I don't recall right now since I'm not really a mountain biker, but Matt really started to play this Monumental Loop course to mountain bikers throughout the country and actually throughout the world. And part of that was he put on it wasn't really, I wouldn't really call it a race, but a gathering of the mountain bike community to ride this loop in the fall in New Mexico. And it was, what you see here is pretty much the original course.
Look at
it's
this.
Been modified.
Now, when we stretch it out, it might not look that intense, but what the heck? Look at that thing. Look at that peak. 79 meters. I mean, that's insane. And you're running up this. And the first, so this is about 100 miles in, I guess. So did you know you were about to do a 300 miler? Like you knew, right? Did you train for this? Like, I know it's in your backyard and all that, but.
Yeah. This, I had kind of gotten into backpacking more a little bit before this.
Okay.
And talking to Matt a few years before this about, the Monumental Loop, and I wasn't all that interested, but because I'm not a mountain biker, but I thought, wow. And by that time I was hearing about some of these 200-mile races. And like, Candace Burt's, but I think she was the first one who really started to put on the big organized 200s.
Yeah.
And, and I saw them and I saw that, I could try a 200-mile race here or there, but it's cost $1,500 to enter.
Right.
I could run a 300-miler in my own backyard for free, basically. And so I thought, this, I could do this with the mountain bikers. And while I was, that was kind of a thought in my head. I probably only talked to one or two people about it. And before any of that came to fruition, I heard some friends talking about this young lady from the Seattle area who's coming down to run the Monumental Loop, the same course you see here, as an FKT. And of course, at that time, I didn't really know the exact course, and I wasn't really familiar with FKTs. I think I had heard the term, and
of course,
probably knew there was a website. So this impressive young lady, her name, it was Ella Raff at the time.
Okay.
She's gotten married. She still lives in Washington State, but she did it and completed it. So there was the FKT.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, this is doable now.
Yeah.
And
now it's a thing. Now it's a thing. Before it was just going to be you going out there running instead of riding a bike, and now it's a thing.
Yeah. Now a runner had actually done it, and to give her credit, she was the pioneer. I just kind of followed in her footsteps, more or less. So one year leading up to this Danger Bird, which is the event that Matt and his co-creators of this Monumental Loop put on, people from all over the country, mountain bikers mainly, come to run it. But this year that I did it, Ella from the Seattle area. She came back down to do it, and there was another friend of mine who he did part of it. I don't think he had actually planned to do the whole thing, but he was going to do like, the first couple days with us. So there were 3 runners: myself, Ella, and Troy. And both Ella and Troy are like super long distance through hikers, like triple crowners. Actually,
Okay.
I'm not sure if both of them have completed the triple crown, but they've both done things like the PCT and set some pretty impressive records.
So you were
Um,
guaranteed a podium finish, but where you would finish is yet unknown, right? Right. So
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So
and
go ahead. So
yeah, so I was kind of encouraged, and had these 2 kind of epic through hikers to start off with me. And that was a great experience.
how exciting! Like
I
again, I don't know why
Yeah,
I'm so excited for you. It was 5 years ago, but it's post COVID. People are getting out, right? Like so, so that's very exciting. What's the terrain? I know it's for mountain bikers, but like, where are you? What is it? Is it mostly? Is it single track? Is it gravel? Like, where in this big giant thing? It also looks like you're running right across the city too, right? Is that what's happening?
yeah.
Okay.
It's really varied. It it starts, actually, there's 2 alternating starting points. You can either start in Las Cruces and finish. There's a little dot right next to it there, to the south of Las Cruces,
Okay.
which is a little town of Mesilla. Um, so it rotates, the starting point rotates year to year in this Danger Bird, but you can either start in Las Cruces and finish just outside of Las Cruces in Mesilla, or vice versa.
Okay.
Um, so it does go through, let's see, if you go to the very south there's Anthony in the kind of southwest corner
Yeah.
of
Let
the
me
map
see.
there.
Yeah. Right there. Okay.
Yeah, there's some little towns right there. It doesn't actually go through that one, Anthony, but right next to it. So you hit some stretches of road
Yeah.
and
That
go
looks
by
like
some.
road, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you go by some convenience stores and restaurants, and the same is true to the north. There's a town, kind of a famous green chili farming town called Hatch,
Okay.
to the
Cool.
north, the very north
Right
there.
there. Yeah.
So yeah, so also you get into the town of Hatch, and there's some kind of famous local restaurants, and you can hit a convenience store to resupply. And there's no aid stations, there's no support on this course.
Now
um and
how long is the whole loop? The whole loop is 300 miles, right? This whole
yeah
okay. Okay, so
yeah
okay, so when are you sleeping and when is that happening? I mean, it's 300 miles, man. Like what?
yeah, well, carry a bivy sack, a light sleeping bag, or whatever. It's the desert, so there's extreme temperatures. It gets hot in the day and cold at night. And I guess I back up a year. I attempted this the year before,
Okay.
and a freak, and it was in October, which is usually pretty nice and warm, but a freak kind of early storm came in, and it was blowing sleet and freezing, and I was basically like questioning if it would be survivable if I stayed out there to finish.
Right.
So that year I dropped, and I think I was the only. Yeah, I was alone at the time too. The next year when I actually completed it was when Troy and Ella started the race with me.
Right.
And I say race, not not really a race, but I was kind of thinking of an FKT. Um, so yeah, but the the terrain it varies. Just there's some flat highway, there's some kind of extreme technical mountain stuff. Not a huge amount of big climbs or anything like that, but like you can see from that elevation profile, there's a few that
Yeah,
are pretty
that
steep
looks that
slogs.
looks
Yeah,
insane. So this is
yeah.
2021. Okay, so 2021, let me where am I at here? Stop sharing. Where am I at? There it is. Okay. 2021. Um what a Wow. Congratulations. What an event.
Thank you.
That's crazy and amazing. And I'm looking for now, so 300 miles is just 300 miles. I can't even, it's hard for me to really kind of wrap my head around that. But a couple years later, when you turn 60, you've done multi-day races now. You've done you've done the Badger, but finally, and I think this is where it must have been August 9th, 2024. There must have been a press release about you doing Bigfoot. That's where I think I heard about you. I think. I think it's
Okay.
online. There's some article written about you. There's a photo of you, I think, and it was about, I think, having just done Bigfoot. So that's a known race, and yeah, Candace Burt, right? That's Bigfoot is one of her destination trail races, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Okay. So talk about that race and how did you get? You did that with that FKT behind you, solo. I mean, that's so impressive that I imagine the level of confidence you must have in yourself, because by this point you've had a whole lot of things and experiences. Pretty confident, I would bet, in really ready to take on a 200-mile race, right? Is that what's happening when you first decided to do Bigfoot?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one other thing I did, which you probably haven't seen because it's not on FKT
Oh,
or Ultra Sign Up, was a through hike through New Mexico of call it the proposed New Mexico Rio Grande Trail. Um, and it's um, there are segments of it that are actually official now, but it's similar to, you're probably familiar with the Colorado Trail and the Arizona Trail.
sure.
And this is kind of in the same vein, a statewide trail from the Colorado border to the New Mexico, Texas, Mexico border that runs north-south, roughly along the Rio Grande, the kind of the famed, Rio Grande River through New Mexico.
You're
I
like a
did
beta tester. Like, what were you helping them?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I did back
Cool.
in, and I might get the year wrong, but it was about 2018. I did a through hike from Colorado to New Mexico along this Rio Grande Trail, or envisioned Rio Grande Trail at the time. And that was my first and only, I'd say, long distance through hike, about 550 miles in total is what I did. So that really helped me prepare for things like the Danger Bird, the 300 miler on the Monumental Loop and 200 milers, because it's more like just hike fast all day and then find a place to camp and sleep, whether you have a tent or just a bivy sack or something, taking a dirt nap.
Were you solo in that one, the 550-mile, or were there
Yeah,
anybody with you? Or geez.
I started off with a friend of mine basically he was the brainchild of the Southern New Mexico Trail Alliance, Dan Carter,
Okay.
and himself an experienced through hiker. He had done the PCT several years before, so I was really glad to start it off with him and learn what I could from him. He accompanied me for the first, I believe it was 2 full days or maybe 3 days. Yes, starting at the border there in Colorado. And I'm fortunate, I'm retired. He was working, so he couldn't spend the whole, rough, whatever, it took me 28 days or so. I wasn't going for a record, but he just wanted to see me off, and he was a little, familiar with some of the area where we started off hiking. Yeah, so that was more or less, I figured if I could do that, just a bunch of fast hiking and time on my feet and learning to sleep, whenever I could, um, these 200 and 300 mile events are probably closer to through hikes than they are to running races.
That's crazy. You were 54 at the time, I guess. Looks like between May and June, your ages change each year, right? Like, because you've done so many races, I can see like, oh, okay. So in case it's your birthday, happy birthday, but it's okay. We don't need it.
Coming up. Yeah. Thanks. June 9th. Thank you.
Okay. So you've got plenty of confidence and you're, at this point, by this point, you're, let's see, Wallace, Lord Hill, I'm trying to see, is Bigfoot the first destination trails race you've run? Okay.
Yes, it is. And the way I got into the Bigfoot was 2 years ago. Good buddy of mine, Cliff Matthews from New Mexico, older guy too. He's about 61 or 62 now. Pretty yeah. He's got a more impressive ultra running resume than I do. Yeah, you might be interested in talking to him. He was registered for Bigfoot, um, and he had various personal things come up. Actually, some really good things. I think it was at the time his daughter had gotten into West Point. So anyway, he had family conflicts. So I was going to pace him at Bigfoot that year, and he deferred until the following year.
Okay.
Well, it was still on my schedule, so I thought, they need volunteers. I saw, I think, on their Facebook page a call for volunteers. So I thought, yeah, I was planning on being there. I'll just go to the race and volunteer. And I thought, if I can't pace, if I'm going to volunteer, I want to sweep part of the course. That'd be essentially like running it.
Yes.
Yeah. So I contacted Brian, their volunteer coordinator, and got a couple segments to sweep. And actually, it turned out once I got over there were volunteers who were no shows and whatnot. So just kind of on the fly, I was at the start of it, and they said, "Oh, you want to start sweeping now from the beginning?" And I wasn't expecting to, but I said, "Yeah, I'm ready to go, and I can just start sweeping." So yeah, shortly after the start of the race, I was there to see the start, and they said, "Okay, you can just start sweeping now." So it was kind of, a lot on the fly. I got to sweep the beginning of the course during the day. I got to sweep segments at night. Met some other sweepers. They usually never send anybody out sweeping alone. It was like to at least have 2 or 3 people. So, I met some good friends that I still keep in touch with. And I realized what a great community it is, that there were people who were volunteering who also run these things. And then they told me, well, for every day or whatever it is you volunteer, you get credit toward entry. So I thought, and I'd mentioned I'm a pretty frugal guy. Some call me cheap. And I thought, yeah, I can run for free. Why would I pay $1,600 or whatever it is to run?
Especially because it was already on your calendar. You're pacing, you were already going to be there. Okay.
Yeah. So after sweeping, and it was a great experience. And they said, well, you can get, whatever X amount of dollars in credit for the volunteer time you put in. So I thought, yeah, maybe I'll do that, So the friend of mine who deferred, Cliff, he deferred until the following year. I thought, well, I'll get to run it with Cliff. So I registered as a volunteer. I didn't have to go through a lottery or anything. So I ran it with my buddy last year. We started off together. We weren't together the whole time, but yeah, that was a really, really great experience.
I'm wondering if I saw a photo of the two of you after the finish. Because there's something,
you may have
an article. I think it was because you were like hanging on, like you looked like you were pals, I think. And you were the 60-year-old, and he was 65. He was older. I remember. Maybe it's the same.
Yeah,
thing. Okay.
I don't remember that picture, but yeah, he is about 2 years older than me, and I'm sure there were a lot of pictures of us taken together. Yeah,
I never thought about volunteering to sweep. I never thought about that, and I love that. That's a really great idea, especially sweeping from the start. You literally, because you didn't cover all 200 miles, but you covered so many pieces of it. There's you take away some of the mystery that's not, you know, necessary. Not mystery doesn't necessarily help, right? I love to know the course I'm going to be running, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's still sections of the course I have not done. I've done most of it, but the last year when I finished the course, it was modified due to a fire, a big forest fire. Um, so one of the reasons I'm running it again this year is I'm hoping to do the entire original course. Hoping there won't be any fires there this year, and
Right.
yeah, we can run it as the race was intended.
I think that's just like with Tahoe 200 and the destination trail races. Like the whole point is it's always point to point, or it's not going to be, you never repeat any part of the race. Right. So,
Yeah, generally, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So when there's fires or whatever, they have to, you got no choice. You have to make little adjustments, you know? So,
Yeah.
okay. That's pretty amazing. So it looks like, so thank you for all of that. But now the last chapter here. So I'm so glad. Thank you for agreeing to like do this. It's really nice to meet you, Pete. And your stories are great. And you're making me feel like I want to, as soon as we hang up, I'm going to get out there and run just because we can. Right. But since we talked, I'm looking, sorry, I'm looking at my, looking at my monitor over here. So since you confirm I get to talk to you, you signed up for the Lake Tide Challenge 12-hour race, the Cascade Crest 100-miler in July, Bigfoot and 200-miler in August, Plain Endurance Runs 100-miler in September, and the Javelina 100, 100-miler in October. Okay, so are you going to get in? Do you get into all these, or some of these waitlisting, or what? Look, because this is a lot of running, man.
Yeah, I'm into all of those.
Wow.
I was fortunate on many of them, like Cascade Crest. That's a lottery, and I won the lottery to get into that one this year. And
what about Javelina?
yeah,
How did you get into Javelina? Because I'm on a wait list.
oh, you just got to register early enough.
Okay.
Yeah, they normally don't. They normally clear their wait list, but last year they didn't. So this year I learned that if I want to run it, I'll just register early and be in for sure. So yeah, and yeah, this year my goal is just to finish all of them. And yeah,
that is amazing. So let's see, June, July, August, September, October. Right. So 5 months, almost 6 months. It looks like, and I didn't spend time adding up all the numbers, but it looks like you're going to cover more ground in these 5 races in a 6-month period of time, more ground than you've covered in the past.
Yeah, and I haven't done the math like that, but this is going to be my most challenging year for races. Yeah.
And right now you're 61. How old are you right now?
Yeah, I'll be 61 in a few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're today's hero, Peter. Come on, man.
You.
Listen. All right.
Yeah. Oh, I think, yeah, we all have things, everybody's going through something different. So we can all be heroes.
I agree. So the one thing I want to make sure I cover with everybody is how talk to us about how what's your why? Like, why do you run? And we sometimes that answers to that changes and evolves over time. So why do you run, and how has your answer to that question changed as you've covered more miles, as your family dynamics change, and as you get older, if it has changed at all?
Yeah, I'd say it's changed. As I mentioned earlier on, it was, stress relief, something to do that's a little healthier besides partying when I was in college, or, whatever. There's what I heard somebody say, ultrarunning is kind of like crack, except you get to keep your teeth. So it's a little, it's maybe an addiction. You get that the endorphins, and it's probably doesn't have quite the downside of of hard drugs. But yeah. So when I was younger, it was generally a good healthy hobby. And I was earlier on I was more into like trying to get my times down. Get faster, or go for longer races and get faster in those. And now it's not so much about, I'm not going to improve my time over on the, you know, 1 mile or the marathon or even the 100 miler. I'm not really going to get faster than my fastest 100 miler at this point. But it's just about being able to do them, enjoy the experience, and you know, and now more and more I'm thinking about longevity and looking to people that I know, like that when I was young, that I kind of dismissed as, oh yeah, those are those old slow people in the back of the pack. But once I got to know some of those people, they really became sort of my heroes. Like man, like this old guy, I didn't realize it, but I'd look on Ultra Sign Up, and he was like one of the elites in Western States or Hard Rock, 20 years ago, and he's in his 80s now, and he's still doing them. Just to name a couple people, they're not like famous ultra runners, but one of them from New Mexico was Ian Madison. And unfortunately, Ian passed away just this January or so, February, maybe February, sometime early this year. I think he was 82, but he was still doing 100 milers, actually not too long before he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, another friend of mine from New Mexico, Bobby Keogh. He's pushing 80. I think he's about 77 or so. Um, Still doing 100 milers. I think last year he did a little shy of 600 miles at across the years. So yeah, when I see people like this, I think, first of all, I'd like to live that long. I'd like to live into my
Yeah.
80s or 90s or whatever, as long as I'm still happy and healthy. But if I'm going to live that long, I love doing these races. I want to keep doing them. I may not be able to handle a tough, rugged, mountain 100 miler, but some of these people like Ian, once he realized he wasn't going to be able to finish Hard Rock anymore, he'd do more of the timed events, like the multi-day events, and he could get in 100 miles in over the course of several days. So, things like that, I'm kind of looking forward to aging like that.
Well, I think you're well on your way, my friend. I've taken down those names. I want to look up Bobby Keogh for sure. I think it's one thing to see somebody's run 100 miles or done something, and then thanks to Ultra Sign Up, to really be able to see someone's path over time. So you look like vital, man. You look like you are alive, right? And I think I must be looking for that. I think when I join people like you, like we have this conversation, I think it just feels good to feel comfortable that, okay, yeah, here we are. People after 60 can, get out there and stay fit and just stay plugged in and stay present and live in gratitude. The idea that you called up the people you remember, it's really inspiring, man. And I looked at your sign up, and it's great. I'm particularly impressed that after we talked, you loaded up these other ones. I'm like, man, this guy's on fire. Oh,
Yeah.
it's been a real pleasure to meet you, Pete. Is it Pete or Peter? Your thing says Pete down there, but
Yeah, you can call me Pete. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, all good.
Either one.
Okay. Well, I hope to see you on the trails. I'm going to stay.
Yeah, I hope to run into you.
Yeah, keep in touch with you, and you're inspiring, man. And I thank you for joining. And what's the next one? The Lake Tide Challenge, 12 hours in just a couple of weeks. So
Yeah, that one I co-direct with a buddy up here. Yeah, in Washington.
Excellent.
So yeah, just kind of a little local one.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you on your socials. Are you active? I'm trying to remember. Are you active on social media? Like, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I wouldn't say I'm really active, but yeah, I post a few things about running. Mainly, most all my stuff is just about running.
Okay.
When I do post something.
What's your handle? Is it Peter Livingstone? What is the handle?
My Facebook? Yeah, I know Instagram, I think, is at Pete Livingstone.
Great to meet you. Great to see you. We'll keep an eye out on your Ultra Sign Up results, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I enjoyed it, Mark. Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice meeting you.
You too. Take care, Peter. Bye-bye.
All right. You too. Bye.